Eoan, the primitive island that the emperor found by chance. The creatures on the island worship an unknown power that comes from the cosmos. Without reaching the level of an angel, just knowledge of it will result in corruption from the cosmos. Try not to make a wish to the genie, nor bring it to that primitive island. Catalia finally received feedback from Mr. Fool as she heaved a sigh of relief, even more worried about the Queen's quest. She turned her head to look at the unresponsive magic wishing lamp and quickly put it away. Then she spread out a letter, picked up a fountain pen, and paraphrased the information she had just received, hoping that Queen Mystic Bernadette would take it seriously. In a dilapidated apartment in Backland, a man with a full beard was sitting on a chair with his hands cuffed behind him. Co, who had become a middle-ranking MI9 member through her own capabilities, stood in front of the man with a triangular blade in hand and her two subordinates flanking her. We already have enough witnesses and evidence to prove that you're one of the main organizers of the protest. If you wish to reduce your punishment, answer my questions honestly. Before Co could say a word, the bearded man felt an extremely powerful suppressive force. When she finished speaking, even his mind began to tremble. It was as though bolts of electricity were generated, and a pain and numbness that couldn't be perceived could explode at any moment. The bearded man suppressed the fear and weakness in his heart and said, "No one instigated me. I just did what I wanted to do. Don't you all know? The entirety of Backland has become a gunpowder keg. Even a tiny spark can set off the entire city, and there are countless sparks like me who are willing to take the risk. Those darn nobles and merchants hoarded so much food while there are already people in Eastborough who are starving to death. You can do whatever you want to do to me." I've never believed in their promises. The reason why we agreed to end the protest was because everyone had received a lot of food. Shio was about to ask further when she suddenly turned her head to listen to the commotion in the distance. Sounds of rumbling could be heard from somewhere. It was deep, hoarse, and layered. Has the Faysac, Intis, or Fenapotter army broken through our defenses and begun to attack Backland's defenses? Shio's expression instantly turned solemn. Back in the forsaken land of the gods, after Klein returned to the real world, he immediately attempted to reach out his hand to see if he could pull out the magic wishing lamp from the fog of history. Soon he confirmed that he couldn't summon sealed artifact 005. Indeed, it involves a uniqueness, or should I say, Sephira? In short, the genie is indeed a high-ranking existence that was sealed. At the very least, he is a king of angels. There's no way to make use of him. Klein let out a breath and turned his attention back to the hunt of dark demonic wolf Kotar. He had made a lot of preparations during this period of time, and he ran through and confirmed the plan above the gray fog. However, he was in no hurry to take action. He spent quite a bit of time checking the loopholes and mending the imperfections. 2 to 3 days later, it was dark and silent in the wilderness. Wearing a silk top hat and a long black trench coat, Klein held a lantern that emitted a faint yellow glow. With a solemn expression, he reached out his right hand and grabbed at the air. At that moment, a bolt of lightning streaked across the world, illuminating it. Following that, he dragged out a figure. It was him holding the illusory staff of the stars and a lantern. Right on the heels of that, his true body entered the fog of history as he dashed to a time before the first epoch. He hid inside the old stacked cities. His historical void projection suddenly came alive, as an area that he had been exploring recently had surfaced in his mind. He used the power of the staff of the stars to directly move to it. This was a huge distance away from where his actual body was. Even if there was a problem with the projection, no one would be able to lock on to the exact location of where his true body was when he returned to reality. Surveying the area, he took in the dried riverbed and a boulder that stood deep in the darkness like a monster. He no longer maintained his Staff of the Stars historical projection, letting it quickly fade away and disappear with a shake of his right hand. After doing all of this, he walked to the boulder, put down the lantern, and began chanting an honorific name in Jotun. The Dark Lord that exists alongside history, the embodiment of countless miracles, the God of wishes. This was the Dark, demonic wolf's honorific name that he had obtained from the Evernight goddess. Although the mythical creature might not be using it anymore, or had perhaps changed it a long time ago. It was undoubtedly referring to him when it came to mysticism. Deep within a mountain range, in an ancient castle, giants, elves, humans, and vampires each held the role as gardeners, chefs, servants, and guards. They all had different expressions and would whisper to each other when they met, making them appear lively and intelligent. However, once they returned to their rooms, they would immediately turn dull. Their eyes would no longer move as their bodies floated up and hung from the ceiling. In the depths of the castle, in a hall where only lightning could light it up from outside the window, a huge figure lay quietly in the darkness. Its body was like a tiny mountain that was covered in dark short fur. Its pitch-black pupils covered at least three-quarters of its eyes, and at its forehead was a tuft of grayish-white fur. Its head resembled a magnified, twisted feral wolf. This was none other than the god of wishes, dark demonic wolf Kotar. Suddenly, this demonic wolf, which was more exaggerated than an ordinary giant, raised his head. Every strand of his dark and short hair began to sway as all the servants in the castle followed his actions. Kotar's eyes moved slightly as he turned his head slightly, as though he was listening to something. In the next second, he opened his mouth and let out a soundless roar and summoned another him. As soon as this dark demonic wolf appeared, Kotar's body leaped into the grayish-white fog as he dashed to a certain historical spot of light in the second epoch. This was a piece of secret history that he knew. In the real world, the dark demonic wolf's historical void projection made a wish in a tongue-twisting language. Then, with a flash of his figure, he directly moved to a mountain near the northern city of Noise. After making the necessary preparations, the god of wishes allowed a strand of dark, short hair to fall off, turning into an illusory worm of spirit that expanded into the corresponding prayer point of light. With its help, Kotar saw who was praying to him. It was a young man wearing a strange hat and strange clothes. He stood beside a glass lantern and softly chanted the honorific name of the god of wishes. The dark demonic wolf's huge pitch-black pupils turned and saw that the young man was covered in a layer of grayish-white fog. There were some things that could not be seen clearly in the fog. As a Sequence 2 angel of the seer pathway, this mythical creature could clearly sense that the fog was similar to the fog of history. It could sense a strong attraction force from something in the fog. Saphira Castle? Having heard some matters from the ancient god, Phlegrea, the king of demonic wolves, he instantly had a guess. Under this premise, he had many thoughts regarding the young man. Using Saphira Castle to attract me and make me attack him on my own accord, and then confirming my location? This is a bait? Indeed, he's just a historical void projection. It's unknown which time fragment his true body is hiding in. It's unknown where the ambusher is hiding. Previously, Saphira Castle clearly had an anomaly. I controlled myself and didn't attempt to search for the corresponding region or the clues that might be left behind. Why do they think I will fall for it? It's just an attempt, switching to another when it doesn't work? Or is there something wrong with this prayer? I've lived for thousands of years. After experiencing so many things, what kind of situation have I not seen? The best solution now is to ignore him and not spy on him. I'll just remember him. The dark demonic wolf quickly made a decision and planned to observe for a while longer before destroying that prayer point of light. At this moment, he saw the young man open his mouth again. The sun that is eternal. You are an inextinguishable light. You are the embodiment of order. The dark demonic wolf was somewhat puzzled as to what the young man was trying to do. In this forsaken land, praying to the other true deities was useless. In the next second, Klein once again chanted another deity's name, the Lord that created everything, the Lord who reigns behind the curtain of shadows, the degenerated nature of all living things. The dark demonic wolf's pupils dilated slightly. He was confused by the actions of the human in the prayer light. Before he could make any guesses, Klein muttered the third honorific name, the clock hand that tampers with time, the shadow that roams across fate, the embodiment of deceit and trickery. Amen. He is Praying to Amun. The dark demonic wolf was already completely at a loss as to what the other party was up to. He instinctively felt that something was amiss and immediately wanted to wipe away the corresponding prayer point of light. Suddenly, he saw the young man lift his head and smile. He then took out a crystal monocle and put it on his right eye. In just one prayer, Klein's historical void projection had turned into blasphemer Amon's avatar. Almost at the same time, the dark demonic wolf felt the other party's gaze pass through the prayer light and land on him. Then Amon looked past him and into the fog of history where his true body was. Without any hesitation, he immediately destroyed the prayer light. As for his true body, he dispelled the gaze and removed the maintenance of the historical projection. In the fog of history, in the stacked city of old, Klein suddenly stood up. A scene surfaced in his mind. A few seconds before this scene took shape, he had severed the connection between his body and the historical void projection, doing so in order to avoid having Amon descent right beside him. The baffling actions that he had previously done were mainly to confuse the dark demonic wolf. He wanted him to continue observing after realizing that the supplicant wasn't the true body. This made him increase the time he spied on Sapphira Castle. In the end, he prayed to Amon, using the possible descent and influence of the god of deceit to hide the tracks of Sapphira Castle's reverse corruption of the dark demonic wolf. If Amon hadn't responded and merely watched by the sidelines, Klein would use the monocle he had prepared to deceive the dark demonic wolf.